Spiritual formation. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Gary, and thank you for giving me a few moments of your time to go on this learning journey of what it means to be formed spiritually. Today, we're going to begin looking at 9 pathways of spiritual expression to help you to understand you have freedom of choice and opportunity to draw close to the Lord through that pathway that most interests you. So today we're going to look at the first one about naturalists, loving God outdoors. We're now going to begin looking at these 9 sacred pathways, taken again from the book Sacred Pathways. Gary Thomas is the author of that, and the information is here on this slide. We want to begin this session by looking at the naturalist. These are believers whose hearts are opened up to God primarily when they get out of doors. For these believers, the classical quiet time of locking yourself away in a room, bowing your head, closing your eyes, might be one of the worst ways for them to pray. One of the best ways would be to get outside and be surrounded by all that God has made, because it reminds them of who God is and it helps them to pray in that light. It's interesting, when John Glenn returned back to space in 1998, he was in his 70s. That's just amazing enough by itself, but what he told the reporters afterwards really is intriguing. He said, looking at the earth from that vantage point, looking at this kind of creation, and to not believe in God, to me, that's impossible, he stated. And there's biblical warrant for that. Psalm chapter 19, verse 1 says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands." It makes us, when you get outside and you're surrounded by all that God has made, you see his immense stability and power in something like a mountain. And yet, you see his attention to the smallest of details. If you're walking on the beach and you just try to add up the grains of sand, for example, you see his penchant toward beauty and what he creates, flowers that are just absolutely stunning. And then you see his wrath and his power in something like a powerful storm. Well, let's look at some examples of Old Testament theophanies. God met Hagar in the desert, Abraham on the mountain, Jacob at the river, Moses at the burning bush. Jesus would touch or teach and point things out. And when you look at paradise itself, it wasn't a museum. It wasn't a cathedral. It was the Garden of Eden, which is why saints throughout the ages have recognized one of the best ways to pray is to get outdoors. Bernard of Clairvaux said, "You will find more laboring in the woods than you will ever among books. Words and stones will teach you what you can never hear from any master." Charles Spurgeon, the great Baptist pastor, stated, "Surely everything that comes from the hand of such a master artist as God has something in it of himself. There are lovely spots, and then on this fair globe, which ought to make even a blasphemer devout. I have said, among the mountains, he who sees no God here is mad." There are things that God has made which overwhelm with a sense of his omnipotence. How can men see them and doubt the existence of this deity? New Testament in 120, Romans 120, Paul would echo this when he said, "Since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made." So, if nature proclaims to unbelievers that God exists, it also proclaims to believers that God is worthy of celebrating and relating to. Well, perhaps it's time to get outdoors. Thank you for giving me a few moments of your time on this learning journey of what it means to be formed spiritually. Again, would you be so kind to share this content on your social platform to let others know about this opportunity to grow in all things spiritual formation? Until we can meet again, we bid you Godspeed. Bye for now.